I'm Bula Vinaka and a warm welcome to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. I'm Louise Kaunisela. Earth Hour helps place a spotlight on nature and will be celebrated next Saturday, the 28th of March. Earth Hour is now one of the world's largest grassroots movements for the environment, engaging millions of people in more than 180 countries and territories. It has become a catalyst for positive environmental impact, driving major legislative changes by harnessing the power of the people. Yes, you just can't beat that. So my guest today is from WWF and the Great Sea Reef Program Manager, Alfred Ralifo. Welcome to Speak Your Mind.
Bula
Vinaka. So we'll just start off with the basic question of what is Earth Hour?
So Earth Hour, as you had rightly mentioned, it is the largest global grassroots movement for the planet, for nature, and for the environment. It first started in 2007 with WWF Australia deciding to actually just shine a light on climate change. And so this movement was a global campaign that started with WWF Australia. Mm-hmm. And since 2007, the event has become a global annual event, going across more than 180 different countries and territories, with more than 7 million people joining every year to create the awareness about climate change, about nature, and how important nature is to all of us. So every year, the Earth Hour theme has evolved. So in the beginning, when it first started, we celebrated it for just 1 hour, but now Earth Hour, the campaign is going beyond that hour.
Oh, I see.
So every hour is Earth Hour.
Oh, okay. All right. So I know that normally we switch our lights off on the day. That's next Saturday, right?
Yes.
For an hour?
For an hour.
Right.
From 8:30 to 9:30 in the evening.
Okay. So can you just tell us about how it's done overseas? I know that, do you have big countries that take part and switch their lights off, like big cities in the world?
Yes, so when it first started in Australia, Sydney actually switched off its lights, not just Sydney, but whole of Australia. So
the whole of Australia.
Yes, so some of the iconic buildings and landmarks switched off their lights. So you had the Opera House, you also have Sydney Harbour Bridge. Those are the kind of buildings that actually switched off. So a lot of the iconic buildings and structures from around the world actually participated in Earth Hours, and not just that, but almost every schools and businesses that participated in Earth Hour actually switched off their lights for just 1 hour, and it's mostly switching off non-essential lights, and electrical appliances that are not essential for just that 1 hour.
Okay, so for example,
you can switch off everything except for security lights. I remember back in the days when, in 2007, 2008, when we have celebrated our, it was also coincides with the Hong Kong Sevens. So in some cases, we actually switch off the TV just for that 1 hour, despite the fact that there was Hong Kong Sevens being played on TV.
So, I mean, you are actually saying this is more important than the Hong Kong Sevens, because you're shining the spotlight on nature for a very good reason. Yeah.
And switching off your lights from across the world actually reduces our global carbon footprint.
Yes.
And that is a message that we can actually contribute towards fighting climate change by just switching off lights.
Okay. So what does Earth Hour aim to achieve?
If I can go back to 2 years ago, every 2 years, WWF, together with the Zoological Society of London, actually releases a global report. We call it the Living Planet Report. So every year, the report actually gives us a baseline of what our natural surroundings, our environment, the status of our environment is.
Okay.
So 2 years ago, in 2018, the Global Living Planet Report actually stated that our current consumption patterns globally means that we are using more than 1.5 planet worth of resources.
Okay.
And that means that we are overspending. We have gone beyond the ability of the earth to be able to sustain us, to provide us with food, to provide us with water, to provide us with clean air, and also for the entire planet. And as a result, that means that if we do not drastically change our consumption patterns, it will come a point when the planet is going to crash. We can only do so much to ensure that the planet provides us with the necessary basic needs: food,
Okay.
water, and clean air.
I see. I mean, goodness me, you think about it. I mean, this is because we want to think of our future generations, and we are the first generation to recognize that climate change is just absolutely awful.
And we are the generation that needs to make this change.
Yes,
For
otherwise
the
it'll be too
future.
late.
It will be too late, yeah.
But it's good that you have people all around the world recognizing that this is an issue that needs to be dealt with. We've had, like you said,
Exactly.
COP23.
Yes.
We've had the Paris Agreement in 2015.
Yes.
So how are our targets being reached? Well, according to also MDGs. So do you think that we're on target to save our planet?
At the moment, we are not yet on target. I mean,
We can do so much
we can
more.
do so much more, and that comes down to the political will and the enabling environment that we can create. And we recognize that despite the fact that the current scientific data and information shows that there is gloom and doom, but there are opportunities for us to reverse the trend in nature loss and also to reverse the trend in our carbon footprints and ensure that we actually help to just and to fight climate change and basically sustain our economies. And to us, nature is the best solution for this, and that is why for this year's theme for Earth Hour, it's all about nature matters.
Okay, so that's the theme 2020?
2020, the theme is Nature Matters.
Right.
That nature is the planet's life support system. It
Yes.
provides us with fresh, safe drinking water. It provides us with nutritious food to sustain us. And it also provides us with clean air to breathe in.
That's so true.
And we need to put nature in the heart of all decision-making processes. And we will always talk about how we need to actually, spend more money to be able to fight climate change. But if we go back to nature, nature can become the solution to address all the global problems that we have.
Yes.
So if we have about 800,000 people here in Fiji, and if each single person plants one tree for this year, you can imagine how much that could actually help to reverse that trend.
That's right.
Yeah.
We all have to do our part. Hey, but we'll be back in a moment on Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Welcome back to Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits, our live radio talkback show, and we have the delayed coverage on FBC TV. That's on Tuesday nights and also on Wednesday mornings at 11. And my guest now is from the WWF, the Great Sea Reef Program Manager, Alfred Relifo, who's been sharing with us how important Earth Hour is. And we just, maybe I just saw you as the Great Sea Reef Program Manager. I mean, how is climate change affecting the sea?
Okay. Yeah, so the Great Sea Reef is the world's third longest barrier reef system, and we are happy and we are proud that it's actually here in Fiji. So it's an iconic it's an iconic living structure, and it's something that we work with to try and save. But the Great Sea Reef is not just like all other reefs here in the world, is not immune to the impacts of climate change.
Right.
And we have seen areas of the reef system which has been affected by bleaching events as a result of the too much heat in the atmosphere and in the water.
True.
So the corals start to lose their color, and if the corals lose their color, it's telling us that it's not a good sign. But the Great Sea Reef is also quite important because we had just completed a global study of all the reefs around the world.
Right.
And the Great Sea Reef is one of the top 50 most resilient reefs. That means that it has certain species of corals in the reef system that can withstand impacts of climate change. And if natural disasters should strike and it will affect the reef system, these certain components of the reef system can survive those extreme conditions, and they will provide seeds to actually allow the other parts of the reef that has been damaged to recover.
Amazing.
So those are some of the things that we had learned about working in this reef system. So the Great Sea Reef is an important reef system for Fiji because it supplies us with all, all our tourism industry is located mostly along the reef system, this reef system.
Yes.
But it is also has certain features that can help fight climate change.
Yes, well, thank you for that. Now we go back to Earth Hour about how we are, asked to switch our lights off for just an hour next Saturday at 8:30 p.m. I'm sure we can do that.
Yes.
I mean, why couldn't we? But do we have anyone who will be doing that in the city of Suva or maybe in the city of, where else in the country?
So we have actually, over the years since 2008, we have actually partnered with a lot of the corporate bodies and organizations here in Fiji, not just Suva, but also across the country. And they have been celebrating Earth Hour annually. The results, as well as, for example, the Reserve Bank of Fiji, FDB, even some of the ANZ, BSB Bank as well, Westpac as well, they have all participated in switching off their lights for just 1 hour.
Oh, great.
Yes.
So what comes on in replacement of switching those lights off?
We
For
have
safety, I'm thinking of safety.
So for safety's sake, we have always requested that they switch off non-essential lights and to keep security lights switched on.
That's fine, just with the security lights, right? Like you said. Okay.
And so they have. We have not had any issues with regards to Earth Hour and safety issues over the years.
Okay.
But for this year and for the last few years, Earth Hour is now gone beyond just that hour, and it's gone beyond that to all other hours after 9:30 p.m. on the 28th of March. So it's beyond the hour now.
Oh, okay. So you can just keep your lights off the whole night.
Yes. Or no, or you can just you can choose to switch off your lights on that night,
right?
Or you can work with your families and with your youth groups, your church, your village, your community, to do something during the daytime, say planting of mangroves or replanting programs or cleanup campaigns. Those are the kind of things, or even just taking that 1 hour to talk to your family about how we can actually reduce our impacts on the planet. Say, for example, maybe. We can consider switching off all your switches when you leave the house. Do not leave anything switched on except maybe just your refrigerator, because then that helps to save your power consumption, but it also helps to save you your electricity bill.
Okay, so what energy carbon reductions have resulted from Earth Hour in previous years?
We had actually worked with Energy Fiji Limited. I'm sorry, but I don't have the data here with me.
All right.
But it has shown from across the globe that we do have a huge reduction in terms of our carbon consumption or energy consumption during the evening of Earth Hour around the world. And that is a positive impact in terms of our contribution towards climate change.
Yes.
That we are able to reduce our contribution to our carbon dioxide emission, and as a result help to at least reduce the impacts of climate change. But we also recognize the fact that if we don't change our lifestyles after Earth Hour, we will continue to contribute towards climate change every other day of the year.
That's right. I mean, it's not only about just that switching off your lights on that night. I mean, what can every Fijian do to contribute to our government's commitment nationally, regionally, and internationally?
We have lots of government commitments, at the global level and also at the regional and also at the national level. But first and foremost, it's also good to and very, very important to actually look at how our daily lives, in terms of how we manage our waste at home.
Okay.
We can look at options of recycling. And if you do have a backyard garden, this is the best and opportune time to actually consider starting your own backyard farming.
Exactly.
Because it can contribute towards nutritious food for the family, save your money from the market.
So many advantages.
So many advantages. So these are the small things that we could consider.
All right. So your own backyard gardening. Anything else?
I live upstairs on an apartment. I also plant vegetables and herbs on my pot plants. So it doesn't give you the excuse that because you live away from the ground that you cannot do backyard gardening. it comes in many forms. The other things to consider is in terms of the water from the tap. If you have leaking taps, this is the time to fix it.
Okay.
Because it would actually help you to save water and contribute towards a sustainable consumption of water.
See, all these things we take for granted, and
Exactly.
we just, don't think about it. But I mean, it's so important.
Those small steps and things like that actually counts.
Yeah. So leaking water.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even if you see bursted pipes around the country, call, the water authority to come and fix it as quick as possible. Yeah.
Support local businesses. The buying locally produced fruits and vegetables from the market is actually quite important as well, because then you are spending within the Fiji's economy.
Yes.
And it is those local businesses that actually needs our money.
That's true.
Yeah.
Keep it in the country.
Country.
Help our people first.
And you have to eradicate poverty at the national level and the local level, but at the same time you get fresh fruits and vegetables straight from within Fiji.
All right then, but unfortunately, my friend, we have already come to the end. We have also other guests that will be coming in. I think it's next, Nature Fiji, Marangeti Viti, and we also have someone from the Ministry of Forestry. But thank you very much, the Great Sea Reef Program Manager from the WWF, Alfred Relifo, for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here to talk about Earth Hour. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. Good to have your company. Thank you indeed. And our next guest, we have this Saturday, the International Day of Forest. And forests are very important in our lives. And we have our guest in the studio with us, the conservator of forest. And this is, actually, we do have, I need to introduce I'll say that again. Communications Ministry of Forestry, Riamanatho, and also Irene Miller, sorry about that, the Executive Officer of the Ministry of Forestry. So just go straight into it. Thank you so much for coming to Speak Your Mind. And my first question, how do we celebrate World Forest Day?
Thank you, Louise. International Day of Forest is celebrated annually on March 21st. This came about from the United Nations General Assembly.
Right.
And so in 2012. So each year it comes, the day is celebrated each year with a theme. And so for this year, the theme is forests and biodiversity.
Okay, yes. Right. So what activities involving forests and trees have been or will be held in the country for International Day of Forest? Maybe Irene, you might like to answer that.
Okay. Apart from actually planting trees on the official International Day of Forest Day, we that actually feeds into our initiative of the 30 million trees in 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is actually an ongoing program with the ministry. But the International Day of Forest is specifically celebrated to actually engage communities, engage leaders, actually engage other groups and villages to actually help us with that initiative.
Okay, so 30 million trees.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so you've started that already?
That was actually initially started last year with 4 million trees in 4 years, and then upgraded to 30 million trees in 15 years.
Wow.
But for the purpose of the celebrations in the Central Division this Saturday, we will be out at Kaloko Level Village.
So are you sure that we'll reach this target of planting that many trees?
So for each year now, we
Yeah.
started this year with 2 million trees. 2 million trees every year.
Oh.
2 million trees every year.
Yes, and we also have our stakeholders helping us out as well. We've got the Fiji Hardwood Corporation Limited and the Fiji Pine, and we also have small youth groups and other activists, which are helping out as well.
Okay, so you plant these trees and then do you monitor them? Are they growing well and they're not dying off or something like that? Well, I mean, Fiji has good soil, I suppose. The trees just grow.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Apart from actually monitoring the planting of the trees, we actually empower the people and actually help them through the nursery management program. Yep.
Okay, so how
Yeah,
are
so-
forests important? I mean, obviously, because you're planting trees, maybe you'd like to tell us why they are important, forests.
Okay, forests cover 1/3 of Earth's landmass, as we know.
All right?
That's from the global statistics. They also have the most biologically diverse ecosystems on land, and so they're home to more than like 80% of terrestrial species of animals, plants, and insects. And for Fiji, we have our own, unique. We have our own forests with our unique plants and trees and also animals.
Right.
So that's the basic purpose, the whole purpose of protecting forests. And for us, for in Fiji, where we have areas, that we call it plantation areas, or areas that that have no forest at all,
Okay.
we're encouraging communities to replant in those areas to grow more forests.
Okay. Yeah, that's really nice. Okay.
Forests also contribute to combating climate change.
Yes.
So every standing tree absorbs carbon dioxide. So the more we cut down trees, the more carbon that's being emitted into the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of carbon in the Earth's atmosphere. It's causing a lot of heat to penetrate the nation. So our global atmosphere is getting hot. We're feeling a lot of heat, and then we're feeling climate change.
Yes.
This rise in sea level.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people are aware now of what climate change is.
Yes.
Just maybe simply, maybe someone who still doesn't understand, maybe you can just explain what climate change is.
Well, if I could put it in one sentence, it would be like plant a tree, save the earth.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is the carbon? Okay, I won't ask you this one. So how do forests help in mitigating climate change?
Okay. I think for forests, it's not only, when you say forest, not only the big trees that you see out on land, it also includes mangrove forests as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
So mangrove forests actually absorb most of the carbon that's out in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think as part of that, we're actually encouraging people to stop cutting them down.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
what do you call that?
Degradation,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
degradation because
deforestation and forest
yeah.
degradation.
So they cut them down and use them for firewood, use them for medicine. So what was it last week? Yeah. Last week we were actually out in Rewa at Naradaki village, and they actually have a huge mangrove plantation there.
Yeah.
But because of the degradation, we've actually given them an alternative source of livelihood through shrimp farming.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll actually take the strain off the
we
mangrove
try and
resources.
we're trying to encourage communities to not to cut down their trees, to conserve. But if they want to, because we can't force them, so we ask them to try and do it in a sustainable manner.
Right, replace
to,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
replace
Yeah,
your plant,
replacing.
But but at the same time, when you go to communities, you can't tell them, oh, just stop going to the forest, because that's a source of income. So
Exactly.
we try and provide alternative livelihoods, like she had mentioned.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what happens because forests are actually being called as the lungs of the
Lungs of the
planet.
planet,
Yeah, and well, for deforestation, it's in the country we don't have any problems with this, do we? Deforestation, people chopping down trees for nothing. I mean, in a big way. I mean,
Yes.
like you said, for people with livelihoods, that's for firewood.
Yeah.
But maybe just chopping it
Logging.
for commercial use.
Maybe through illegal logging, yes.
Yes.
Illegal logging?
Illegal
Okay, so
logging.
that's a bit of a problem that
Bit of a
we do
problem.
face now.
Yes.
In which areas? Around the country? Probably what? Vanuatu?
Particularly in the north.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say the north.
And also here, Vitilevo.
Vitilevo
Yes.
as well. Yeah, so it's pretty much all over. Eh?
All over.
yeah.
Lots of
Okay, I mean,
Serua,
it's a worldly
Barbosa.
thing
Yes,
too,
yes.
right? Okay.
So we also realize that we call it the drivers, drivers of deforestation and forest degradation. A lot too is people clear land to make plant for agricultural purposes.
Yes.
Yes, that's
another-
another driver. That's another cause of forest
Deforestation.
of removal of forest.
Yes.
Yeah. So you cut
That
down perfectly
and
good trees.
yeah, even forest fires in Fiji is common. We try and encourage communities not to
Not to just burn
burn
anyhow.
So,
Yeah.
because we found some of our studies, we found that some of the youth just sit around doing nothing in the villages, and so they decide to light a fire in this particular forest
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
Oh, that's just
Just like
terrible.
that,
I mean,
yeah.
look at what happened to the
Australia.
forest in the Amazon and also Australia.
Yes, Australia. Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. I mean, it must have affected our forests. I mean, even for have impacted mankind as well. Because I believe that now trees aren't able to cater for that carbon dioxide for some reason. But unfortunately, maybe just a very quick last message on why International Day of Forest is important, because just quickly from both of you before we finish off and get our next guest in.
On International Day of Forest will actually be officially celebrated on Saturday, but on Friday we are actually engaging the Speaker of the House of Parliament, the Honourable Ratu Epeli Nailatikau.
Yeah.
He's going to plant a tree at Parliament for us, so that would be a symbolic gesture towards the International Day of Forest before we actually move on to Kalokolevu on Saturday.
Lovely.
And yes, we just want to encourage people to commemorate the day with us. So if they could plant a tree and just post it on the Ministry of Forestry Facebook page.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and then just
Maybe
the
we can
hashtag, tag us, just with the hashtag 30MT15Y
Okay.
and another hashtag IDOF 2020.
That'd be really good. You could
Yes.
get your children to take part
Yes.
in. You can teach them how to plant trees.
Yes.
Hey, but thank you very much. Our guest from the Ministry of Forestry, Communications, Raiman Nado, and also the Executive Officer from the Ministry of Forestry, Irene Miller. Thank you indeed, and a happy International Forest Day in advance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Only the classic hits. Thank you a lot for your good company. And my next guest in the studio, this is related also to International World Forest Day. And she is actually the director of the NGO Nature Fiji, Margareti Viti. It's really good to have you. Nunia Thomas Moko, welcome to Speak Your Mind.
Thank you, Louise and Bulabinaka.
Okay. Oh, I love your T-shirt and that parrot and
Yes.
even your earrings.
Thank you. It's the same animal. This is the kulawai, which is found on a $5 bill and is Fiji's most endangered forest bird.
I didn't know that
Yes.
the kula were in endangered species.
The
forest now
kulawai,
in
not the
Fiji?
kula,
Oh,
the
okay.
kulawai.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
So you have kula and
The
kulawai.
kulawai, yes.
So what's the difference?
So the kula is bigger, much bigger than the kulawai. The kulawai is actually really small. You know those little parrot finches you find in your backyard gardens?
yes,
It's almost the same size, just slightly bigger with a longer tail. That's the kulawai. And this is the life size of the kulawai. The kula is much bigger than this.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right. Because I remember as a child, I used to be enchanted by them in our garden because I used to see them a lot.
Yeah.
But now you don't see them as much.
Those are the parrot finches that you're finding in your gardens.
Then.
Yes.
All right then. Anyway, I'll leave it to you. So please, how is Nature Fiji improving biodiversity and habitat conservation in the country?
Well, Nature Fiji Marangeti Viti is a local conservation organization, and we champion biodiversity species conservation.
Okay.
And what we do is we take scientific knowledge that has been published and we translate it into language that is easily understood by teachers and students and local communities. And then we inform them of these of the information about Fiji's biodiversity. We also do endangered species research. We've identified 50 of Fiji's most endangered plants and animals, and we put the information out there about them because Fiji, 99% of our plants and animals that are found in Fiji's forests are found only in Fiji. Nowhere else in the world.
And that's special.
So that makes our forest really important for these biodiversity. And so what we do as an organization is we try to build local ownership of our biodiversity issues. We identify where are the areas that need some more biodiversity protection, where are the areas that need a little bit more knowledge about our species, and then what do we do in working with the communities to, one, find out more about the species, and then number two, conservation actions that we can do to make sure that these species can continue to survive. So it's really building up a conservation constituency and really just building up an appreciation for Fiji's biodiversity.
Yes. So you work together with other stakeholders as well, Ministry of Forestry, obviously.
The Ministry of Forests, Ministry of Environment, because we have really good government policies in place.
Excellent.
What's missing is the gap between the policy and the local community, the implementation on the ground. So
Okay.
we try to
You
bridge that
doing
gap.
your work.
We bridge that gap between
Okay.
the community and government.
Yeah.
There are really good programs that are in place. So when we speak with the community in 2008, 2009, 2010, we took the Fiji forest policy and we took it to all Matangali that still own large areas of forest,
Yes.
so that we could inform them of their rights and their obligations under the Fiji forest policy.
Okay.
And under that, then we talked about, okay, what do you do? What can you do to make sure that your forest is managed or is protected? Or if you're going to go into logging, then what are the issues that you have to discuss with your Matangali and also with forestry? You have the Fiji Forest Harvesting Code of Practice and environment impact assessments. So what can we do as citizens to make sure that we are also applying policies that the government has put in place?
So this has been taken well by, so you normally, approach the chiefs of
Yes. Well,
the
we have a standard program where we go through the provincial office.
Okay.
For that particular program, we went to the provincial office, the Native Lands Commission, the Itoke Lands Commission at the time, and with the Ministry of Forest. The Ministry of Forest gave us, these are all the areas that are still forested in Fiji. And so then we went to the Native Lands Commission and said, who are the owners of this land? We are the Matangali. Then we went to the Ministry of Itoke Affairs, to the provincial offices, and said, where are they residing?
Okay.
Then based on that, we did targeted awareness with these Matangali.
That's really good. And were they happy about the information that you share with them?
The information that we shared with them and also what we learned from them is what is driving our strategy now for the next 5 years, which is save species, conserve sites and habitats, empower people, and to be a strong organization.
Excellent. So how do you get them to participate in that? Can you give us some examples of some of them that are doing really good work with what following up with what you've done?
For example, when we were in Mbua in 2010, we talked about environment impact assessments and some of the activities that need an environment impact assessment, like gravel extraction, clearance development. And in one of the discussions, a particular community raised their hands and said, we have gravel extraction here. Sometimes they just come and present a yangona, and then we give them the gravel because they also improve our roads. And then we explain to them the issues that gravel extraction brings about. When you take out gravel from the river systems, you are actually making it worse. And you're creating a situation where when there's heavy rain, there'll be flooding. And this community could relate to that because they did have flooding as a result of bad land. On top of the gravel extraction was also the land clearing that was happening. And so then they took it up, and the name of the community was Ndawara, and they wrote their letters. So what we do is we try to make the link between the community and the relevant government department that they can raise their issues with. And they were able to address that issue in that way.
Excellent. So, you're teaching them a lot of things because they only see, the road, but they don't understand the impact it has on the environment.
Yes, and I think that it's with all of us because we don't understand the uniqueness of what we have in our ecosystems. In the rivers, we have special animals. For example, with a fish, they need to travel all the way downstream, sometimes out into the ocean.
Right.
And they travel all the way upstream again. So they need certain habitats within the river system.
Yeah.
They need the rocks and the boulders, the ones that climb the waterfalls. So they need all these things to be able to breed and it's their home. So river systems in our forests as well. And we are all in the same boat in that we don't understand. And so Marangetiviti, we hope that our role is that we can educate people and so that we're making informed decisions about how we use our land. Because logging, agriculture, these are all good sources of income.
Right.
What needs to be done, it has to be done right.
Right. So managed well.
Managed well and following the great policies that are in place. We have the Forest Harvesting Code of Practice. We have the Fiji Forest Policy. Within the Ministry of Agriculture, we have rural land use.
Yeah.
All this research has been done. It's a matter of applying this research to our daily lives.
Well, that's really important. Thank you so much for that. But we'll be back soon on Speak Your Mind. Do stay with us. Speak Your Mind on Gold FM, only the classic hits. International Day of Forests. This is Saturday, and well, we have our guest now, the director of Nature Fiji, Marangetiviti, and this is Nunia Thomas Moko. Man, you are so well versed with the work that you do, and it's really admirable because it's a very important work. You know, sometimes we don't think of how important it is. Now, I believe, you know, how you were saying about endangered species. So how many altogether do we have again?
We have many that I can't say off the top of my
Oh,
head.
obviously, because there are quite a lot.
But I can say that pretty much all the species that you find in our dollar bills, the kulawai, the nanai that's on the $100 bill, the kavauninga that's on the $20 bill, the mbekamirimiri on the 10-cent coin, most of those species are endangered. And so, you know, we are thankful that the Reserve Bank chose to highlight these species on their dollar bills because it helps us in communicating about the plight of these species.
All right, so you are trying to save them. How do you do it? I mean, for example, you said about the kulawai. You might like to explain more?
Yes, so the kulawai was last seen in 1993. That's the last time it was seen at the foothill of Mount Tomanivi or Mount Victoria, Fiji's highest mountain.
Oh.
And since then, you know, we've raised funds and we brought in researchers, we've even got our local expert, Vili Kesamasimbalavu, Dr. Dick Watling, and organizations like BirdLife International that have helped us search for the kulawai when we have not been able to find it on Viti level. And last year, on the occasion of Remembrance Day for Lost Species, we highlighted the plight of the kulawai. And then since then, we've run a campaign where we're trying to raise funds to look for this bird on the island of Taveuni, because if there's anywhere that this bird should be, it should be the island of Taveuni, because the island of Taveuni has intact forest. It has the Taveuni Forest Reserve, the Ravi Levu Nature Reserve, and the Mboma National Heritage Park.
Oh, lovely.
You know,
I'm so
pretty
proud
much.
Because that happens to be my island too.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
You know, and it's a special island. A lot
Okay.
of plants and animals that you don't find in other parts of Fiji are there on Taveuni. So Taveuni is a special island.
Amazing.
So we think if there's one place that this bird should be, it should be the island of Taveuni.
So you
And
still yet to go and
we
see?
still yet to go because we will target the time when the flower that they feed on is flowering. So this is the vunga and the ndrala. They're pretty flowers, and so we're working with Vili Kesamasimbalavu, and we're all doing this on a voluntary basis. We've sought funding from different donors, but we haven't been able to get it. And so now we're launching a raffle campaign.
Okay.
A raffle, we're selling the raffle tickets at $20 each to get $10,000. That's what we need to search for the kulawai on Taveuni. Last Saturday, Vili Kesa took the first team for their bird watching training, following our bird guide.
Okay.
They went up to part of the Sovi Basin and just to learn on how to identify the call of Fiji's birds. And so then this is the team that he will take to Taveuni, and then we'll work with the landowners on Taveuni. If there are pig hunters there, if there are Yangona farmers there, those are living close to the forest, those are the guys that who are strong enough. Those are the guys that we will work with to search for the kulawai in the month of July, because that would be coming towards the end of the flowering season of the vunga.
The one that they eat.
Because if we're going when they're in full bloom, then we won't know where to look because they'll be everywhere. But when we go when the food resource is low, then we can target specific areas and sit there and just look for the
Bird watching.
Yes.
Oh, so you do bird watching?
Yes.
It must be exciting.
It is. It's a nice
Tiring
feeling.
too?
It's quiet. You go into the forest very early in the morning, and you're also there late at night. But there's just something about being in the forest that's special. It heals you, and you just spend that time quietly watching the birds. And I think you just really get an appreciation for nature.
True.
And all that nature provides for us.
I mean, like even for now, I can hardly see toads in Suva.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
before, when I was young, there were so many toads. You know, there's be flicking up on my flip-flops and everything. But
Yeah,
now,
well, the cane toads are an introduced species. They are not good for our environment.
Oh,
Those
I
are the
see.
cane toads. They're from South America.
Okay.
We have our native frogs, which live in the forest, the Fiji tree frog
Oh.
and the Fiji ground frog.
So
And
we-
they lay their eggs in the trees or
Yeah.
in the soil.
Oh.
The cane toad lays its eggs in ponds.
Well,
Yes.
thank you very much. You're so well versed. Now, talking about the kulawai, you've got so many books there. Maybe
Yes.
you'd like to explain what those 3 books are about. And
So this is the bird guide that Dr. Dick Watling wrote many years ago, but it's a pocket guide, and
Okay.
it shows all the different types of birds of Fiji. And this is written in the Itoke language, and he's given it to us the Itoke version that we
Okay.
can distribute to schools or whoever that we run bird training with. So we have the forest birds, and then we have the seabirds, because in the seabirds, it also includes the migratory birds that fly in all the way from Alaska just to
Whoa.
come to Fiji to feed, and then they travel all the way back to Alaska
Oh my
to
gosh.
breed.
Right.
And then we also have, as part of a program, we are contributing towards awareness around the important bird areas in Fiji. So one of the important bird areas is the Greater Tomanivi area, where the kulawai was last seen. And some of the key threats to Fiji's important bird areas are activities like burning, unsustainable logging, not following the forest harvesting code of practice.
Okay.
And so we worked with Nasongo village and Navai village. We asked them, why do you use fire? We tried to understand some of the uses of fire.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learned from talking with them was that they don't use fire much. They have traditional mechanisms for clearing their land for agriculture. And that was
See?
totally new for us. We said, there are traditional mechanisms to clear land for agriculture
Right.
rather than using fire. And so we took that information with them. We had interns who then developed a storybook, and one of their own, Meli Naingama from Nasongo village, he then translated the story. And then we had it as a coloring book for kids. And they have the messages on how they traditionally clear their land for agriculture without using fire.
Amazing. That's really something else. Yep.
And then we have the playing cards that we developed for the kids. And this features the Fiji mask shining parrot that's found only on Viti level. It's different from the one found in Kandavu, different from the one found in Bonua level and Taviuni. And then all the other birds. And then each one has a message, and it's translated in the dialect spoken in Nasongo and Navai. And it's all the forest birds that they find in their own backyard.
So what can you say about why birds are important, and especially endangered species?
If we lose all the birds and the bats, we lose our forest.
Just
Because
like that.
of the important role that they play in dispersing the seeds,
Yes.
in pollination,
Right.
and all the other insects that live in the forest. They have their own roles.
See?
Without the birds or the insects, we lose the trees, and without the trees, we lose what Alfred was talking about earlier, the clean drinking water that we have in our taps.
Amazing. I mean, everything is connected in
Everything
nature.
is connected.
And if we don't look after our, nature, we won't be looked after
Yes.
ourselves. We'll lose out.
Exactly.
And the
this
thing is that people are the ones that are destroying everything.
yes, but it's also because
Well,
we are not being given, we don't have the correct information.
Okay.
And so what we need to do is we need to take responsibility in learning what is the correct thing to do. We need to reconnect with nature.
Yes.
Learn some of the traditional methods that our forefathers practiced.
I mean, imagine they were doing it without even the knowledge that, we have now. I mean,
Right.
we have Google and, internet, we can,
Exactly.
but they just knew it on their own.
Yes.
That is so amazing. But just very quickly before we end our interview, where can we purchase the raffle tickets to help you in your work? Or even to make donations? Business people may be listening, we never know.
Well, we'll be selling it from our office,
Okay.
and we will be selling it at the next rock market. That's where we usually go and sell our merchandise to
Great.
raise funds to go to save the kulawai.
Right.
We have a campaign called Give a Kulawai to find our kulawai.
Okay.
So the first thing is to find it. So they can contact us at our office, and we were hoping to launch it at the music festival.
Yeah.
If the music festival goes ahead, we can launch it then. If it doesn't, then we'll have to launch it from the office.
Yeah, otherwise, that's the information. Thank you so much for coming to Speak Your Mind. The director, Nature Fiji, Marangeti Viti, Nunia Thomas Moko, Vinaka Vakalevu.
Vinaka.